it's almost like, I just got to do it. I was trying to avoid it. So the analogy of that brother of ours, Ben Parkinson, used one time was, it's like a family playing Monopoly, right? And they play Monopoly, and like 3 days or 3 weeks into it, like the board is pretty much set. Like everybody owns property. But then another individual comes in and say, hey, I want to play. Well, you know, we've been playing this game for like 3 weeks now, right? And so they're like, well, I still want to play. It's like, all right, well, this is what we'll do. Everybody's going to keep their money and their property. We're going to give you Baltic and Mediterranean. Nobody wants Baltic and Mediterranean, but we give you Baltic and Mediterranean and we continue to play the game for another week. And you're just like, this is not fair.
Well, not only that, we'll give you Baltic and we'll promise to give you Baltic and Mediterranean, but actually never give it to you. And then when you go past go, not only are you not going to collect $200, we're going to slap you in the face and beat you on the back every time you pass.
Exactly, right? We're going to make everything as difficult as possible.
And then once your son comes in,
exactly,
and then his son comes in, we're going to do the same thing.
So
but you can get, we're going to tell you can get Baltic and Mediterranean so that you can, but you're actually not going to get it.
So the game is rigged from Jump Street, right? So how do we assume, like, so this is the state of America, like there's no way possible that an individual who has the comfortable life of owning the red property, the green property, boardwalk and park place, that they're going to be willing to say, you know what, not only did I get this in unjust means, but I'm willing to rescind this. Like, I'm willing to start all over again, or I'm willing to concede that there's been some trickery, and despite my comfort, right? Because these are the people who understand the data and know the data to be true. They're like, yeah, I get it, but man, my life is comfortable right now. And I like the way it is. And I don't know how to give it up, nor do I really want to give it up. And I think this is when we talk about a biblical Christianity, a biblical view. I think whether you go to Leviticus and Deuteronomy, or you see the many examples in the scriptures, it's how do we consider other people more than ourselves? Or how do we look out for the least of these? Or how do we say, in community, there is no longer this idea that it's all about myself and my own personal comfort, but man, I'm looking for the flourishing of the church and the brothers and sisters who live amongst me, right? Especially if there are Christians within your community who are struggling, right? But then even in that, I think the Christian is to do good in society in general. Like, we are the first wave of individual who should be pushing back evil and injustice, right? And I think oftentimes, because we're intoxicated with our comfort, we're not willing to be those people who are charitable and generous. And I think Schaeffer talks about how one of the greatest egregiances of the Western church is not going to be its theology or its heresy. It's going to be what it did with its wealth and its privilege. And from his vantage point, she was like, we're not doing a good job at all. And so I would say that's why it's hard. It's hard because, one, we want to think that we will, like everybody, and this is just not white folks, but in general, when we look at the landscape of human history, we want to be supreme rulers of our life. We don't want to make it seem like anybody gave us opportunities or gave us the ladder to climb the wall of success, right? That's one. Then two, when we do recognize their sin, it's so hard for us to repent and say, you know what? Yeah, this is wrong, and I'm willing to turn away from the errors of my ways and say, how do I make right what was wrong, right? And then it's always easier to turn the blame on other people and say, well, they're not just doing enough for themselves to make them successful. And I think this is the language and the dangerous narrative of what we see in Trump and a lot of his constituency, is that it's not that history has presented problems, right? It's that people are lazy and that they can't pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. And not only that, what we do is we'll say that they're divisive because they've complained about the injustices in America. So now what we hear is everything was well. We were on this trajectory to harmony as a racial society, as a multiracial society, until Obama came and started bringing things up. So I don't think Obama brought anything up, to be perfectly honest with you. I think what happens is just his presence in general makes whiteness uncomfortable, because now you have to deal with the fact that there is a black man in authority. And by the way, he may not see things the way that you see it. So now you kind of see what it feels like in a very micro level to be an African American, to wonder like, is this person in office going to care about how I live? Are they going to care about my interest, right? So do you get the tension that black people have felt for hundreds of years?